Heads are rolling at Salesforce, and it may sound insensitive for me to call the people that work at Salesforce heads, but that message is coming directly from their CEO. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Leading Change. My name is Ema Roloff, and in these Change in the Wild episodes, I take a look at current events and how they match up to the world of digital transformation, change management, leadership, and emerging technologies. And today, I want to take a look at the story that is emerging tied to the layoffs coming out of Salesforce. If you're enjoying our content, consider subscribing to our channel, giving this video a like, and dropping a comment. We personally respond to every comment that we get because we enjoy having a conversation with you. So on September 2nd, news broke that Salesforce has announced that they will be laying off 4,000 people in their customer success department because they, quote, need less heads because they are so effective with the use of their Agentforce AI solution, specifically designed to help companies with customer success. Now, I think we could have a whole episode discussing how insensitive it is to talk about people as heads and implying that their jobs, their livelihood can all be distilled down to that alone. But I more specifically want to focus in on kind of the larger conversation surrounding AI and layoffs. It feels like we are constantly getting news of big layoffs coming in the name of AI.
They took our jobs!
But as I've talked about before, these layoffs are typically coming from companies similar to Salesforce that are creating and selling AI solutions to other companies. So forgive me if I have a little bit of skepticism tied to how much of those 4,000 jobs have been completely replaced by Salesforce's Agentforce platform, and how much of this might be right sizing due to the market and the economic landscape that we're operating in. So many tech companies ballooned up pretty massively during the COVID era and shortly thereafter. And there's a lot of people that feel like these layoffs might be right sizing of their teams that have naturally come about from overhiring. And AI is being used as the scapegoat and also maybe as a carrot to be dangled in front of other executives that, just like us, we're so effective. You can implement our software and you won't need these people to be doing this work, which I think is a very dangerous narrative surrounding artificial intelligence because there's still plenty of work and productivity to be unlocked by people. But when this narrative and the kind of this scapegoating of job losses is tied to artificial intelligence by the people that are trying to push this technology forward, I start to get concerned because then it goes beyond just the headlines and it's specifically this narrative of replacing people that's being used to sell these solutions. Earlier this year, Salesforce's CEO had come out saying that 50% of his company workload is now being handled by artificial intelligence. And he's also been on interview talk shows talking about the idea that they're no longer hiring software engineers because of the gains that they've gotten from AI. But during the time frame that he was talking about the fact that 50% of their workload is being taken by AI, they had only cut about 1,000 jobs throughout the year, and they had hired more than that to support and sell their AI solution. And during the time period where he announced that they were no longer hiring engineers, I went onto their website and I saw that they had over 600 software engineering jobs available.
Something is not adding up.
So that didn't quite match up in my mind. And now to see that they are letting go of 4,000 people in the name of AI, when truthfully, I haven't heard really impressive sales numbers or adoption stories of their Agentforce platform, I continue to have some concerns. And as I mentioned, when we take a look at performance of Salesforce and all other software platforms, we have seen just the same type of economic squeeze on these companies that we have in many other industries. But Salesforce specifically, with the growth that they've had, has seen a decline in year over year growth, which, when we look at something like rehiring, can be pretty substantial. So, looking at their revenue back in 2023, they saw between 2022 and 2023 over an 18% year over year increase in sales. But when we look at this year in 2025, year over year from 2024, they've only increased their sales at about 7.9%, which, when you go from increasing year over year to at almost 19% down to almost 8%, that's a pretty substantial decrease in the amount of growth that they're seeing as an organization. And that could be playing into it. I'm not here to say that AI has not unlocked new levels of productivity, or that they haven't been able to hone their solution to be able to offload some of the work that was being done by their team. But the idea that 50% of all of the work that's being done at Salesforce is being done by AI, and that they are able to just quickly slash almost half of their entire customer support staff, makes me question what we're going to see a year from now when it comes to rehiring people to support their customers when they've gotten backlash or pushback. I created a TikTok about this, and in the comments, I had people that had been 10-year veterans of Salesforce consulting saying that they're scared for what this is going to do to the support that they've already been receiving. And there is a lot of skepticism based off of people that have used the platform of whether it's going to be able to really pick up the slack that Salesforce is presenting to the market that it will be able to. We're hearing this big narrative of the fact that AI is displacing all of these jobs. And again, that's not to say that there isn't disruption happening in the marketplace. But based off some current research from Challenger Gray and Christmas, there is only about 10,000 job cuts that have been done in the year of 2025 that can directly be attributed to artificial intelligence. Now, not minimizing any of those 10,000 people that may have lost their job, but in the grand scheme of things, in comparison to the total amount of layoffs that we've seen within the year, which is close to 90,000 jobs, that's really only about 1.2% of what is taking place in terms of total job losses across the year. So when we hear these salacious stories of 4,000 jobs from Salesforce alone being eliminated, when the external research says that it's been really about 10,000 that can be attributed to artificial intelligence, those stories don't quite match up. So what does this mean for you if you're leading an AI strategy or implementing these tools within your company? The first warning is just to be weary of these headlines and salacious pointing to AI for layoffs. You need to think long and hard about the motivations behind why a company or somebody specifically like Salesforce's CEO might be putting this message out into the market. Are they trying to sell you their software solution specifically? Are they trying to appease shareholders with their use of AI? Are they trying to attract outside investment? All of these things will play into that equation of how they're talking about this, and also maybe just justifying layoffs outside of financial issues or downturns in sales. Think about the other side of the story and do a little bit of research to understand where you're seeing this kind of play out with organizations outside of the ones that might be trying to sell you artificial intelligence. Earlier this year, there were reports that said up to 55% of employers who cut staff in the name of AI quickly regretted it because they didn't get the type of return and output they were hoping for with the use of their Gen AI tools. So before you make the move to start slashing in the name of artificial intelligence, be cautious, think through the ramifications, and think long and hard about where you have the opportunity to repurpose people, upskill people, and find new and different ways to unlock productivity. Because realistically, when I look at this and I think to myself, who is going to come out ahead in the world of AI? It's not going to be the first movers that implement the shiny tool as quickly as they possibly can to cut heads. It's going to be the companies that invest in their employees, invest in developing soft skills and digital literacy that will complement the technology. And those will be the companies that are continuing to hire, continuing to invest in their team, balance out the technology, and solve new big problems and be able to capture market share. Eliminating people in the name of using AI is not the flex that some of these companies think that it is. And it might lead to short-term gains or the ability for them to sell their software to other CEOs that might have short-term visions for their company. But to get ahead in the world of AI, we need to be thinking strategically and we need to be thinking long-term. Very recently, AWS's CEO came out and said that cutting entry-level staff in the name of AI is the dumbest thing that he's ever heard. And I have to agree. If you want to be a company that stands out in the world of AI, don't use it as a mechanism to replace your staff. Use it as a way to capture market share and continue to grow. I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether Salesforce is truly implementing their technology so effectively that they've been able to eliminate 4,000 employees, or if you share the same skepticism that I do. If you've used the product Agentforce or you are a Salesforce customer and have had to interact with their customer service in the last couple of years, I'd also love to hear your experience to kind of round out the picture of these headlines. So drop a comment below. I respond to everybody, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. If you like what you saw, be sure to come back on a weekly basis and subscribe for more expert interviews focused on digital transformation, change management, and emerging technologies.